Hi, folks. My name is Peter Boss. I'm the host of the Pro Life Guys podcast. And with me today in studio is my wonderful friend and co host, Cameron Cote. We want to welcome you to this year's virtual Toronto March for Life events. Today, we are going to be talking about the importance of having conversations about abortion, the importance of changing hearts and minds on this most controversial subject, but also this horrific injustice. As many of you know, abortion is completely legal in Canada. Roughly 300 preborn children lose their lives every single day, which means that at the end of the year, 100,000 little boys and little girls are torn apart from their mothers' wombs. 200,000 parents have lost their children to the horror and the injustice of abortion. And in many ways in Canada, abortion is kept out of sight and out of mind. It's hidden behind closed doors in sanitized hospital rooms across the nation. And so many of us do not see the reality and do not fully understand the reality of what abortion is doing and how prevalent it is in Canada. As Dr. Monica Miller has once said, this putting the victims behind closed doors is creating a sleeping, apathetic populace that can just live on as if nothing is wrong. But as pro lifers and as Christians, we are well aware that something is wrong. 300 little image bearers, 300 little boys, and little girls are losing their lives. And this is why we need to get active and have these important conversations about abortion with those around us, whether it be our colleagues, whether it be our peers, whether it be those at the schools that we attend, or wherever it might be. We need to know how to have good conversations about abortion so that we can see lives saved and minds changed on this most crucial topic.
Yeah, Peter, it always makes me think of the first conversation I ever had about the abortion issue. I was in grade 10, and my math teacher, who was not pro life, asked the class this question: if abortion were to decrease the crime rate, would we ever allow abortions so that we have fewer criminals? At the time, I had a big heart for preborn children, and I put up my hand and I said, "Sir, but it's a baby." And he just looked at me and he said, "Cam, I know it's a baby, but what about the victims of crime?" I shot my hand up again and I said, "But sir, it's a baby." And that's the only response that I could come up with. I had a heart for preborn children, but this year at the virtual Toronto March for Life, we are excited to give you more. We are excited to equip your head with the knowledge you need to better engage on the abortion issue, because we absolutely need to have huge hearts for preborn children. But that's not enough. We need to have filled minds with how to have effective, mind changing, and life saving conversations about the abortion issue.
That's right, Cam. And that just highlights once again that story that you share, the importance of knowing how to effectively and winsomely have conversations about abortion, how we can be a voice for the voiceless. Well, there are a few opportunities that we want to share with you on how you can fill your head with the tools and the apologetic strategies that we use and the tactics on the streets so that you too can have really good conversations. This evening, May 11 at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can listen to a full-on apologetics talk where we will dive into the human rights argument, where we will dive into some other arguments that we use that we have seen people change their minds on the streets time and time and time again. You can also get more in depth with a book that our colleague wrote. Her name is Justina Van Manen, and she wrote the resource Stuck, a complete guide to answering tough questions about abortion. In this book, you will find pretty much every abortion justification that you hear on the streets. Justina analyzes it, she picks it apart, and she shares not just how that argument is wrong, but how we can address that argument in a really good way on the streets. And then if you want more ongoing content, more ongoing apologetics training, we at the Pro Life Guys podcast, this is what we do. We want to equip you to have these good conversations So tune in. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your content. Let me give you a few examples of some of the conversations that we've had. Episode 13 is titled Sharing Light in the Darkness of Sexual Assault. We had a friend of ours on and had a hard, a difficult, but a very good conversation about how we can address sexual assault when it comes up on the streets. Episode 21, we had a doctor, Dr. Ryan Wilson, on from the Canadian Physicians for Life to talk about the question, is abortion ever medically necessary? Episode 32, we dove into just some arguments that we hear. It's called Here's What We Would Say to That, Part 1. And Part 2 is episode 38. Here's What We Say to That, Part 2. And so, Cam, you highlighted the importance of having zeal and passion, having a heart for the abortion issue, having a heart so that that we want to defend and protect preborn children, that we understand the injustice and we want to defend. But we need to couple that zeal and that passion with good apologetics. We need to be aware of the best way to have conversations so that we can see minds changed and lives saved.
Yeah, by the end of this week, we hope that you will not only have a bigger heart for preborn children, not only will you have a mind full of facts and tools for how to have compassionate and compelling conversations about the abortion issue, but we want to give you opportunities to use your hands to actually join us in transforming our culture. We want to encourage you to check on our website, endthekilling.ca. Find the Get Active tab and sign up to be a volunteer with one of our clubs across the country, but particularly in the Ontario region. We want to give you the tools so that you can have conversations, but not just that. We want to mobilize you so that you are talking to people on street corners and on doorsteps, having these mind-changing and life-saving conversations about the abortion issue. But you might be wondering, why do we need to have conversations so much? Isn't it enough to be politically active? Or isn't it enough to be involved with your local pregnancy care center? If you're involved with one of those two wings, I certainly want to commend you and thank you and encourage you to continue being involved with those groups. But we can't forget the educational arm of the pro-life movement. These three arms, the pastoral, political, and educational, collaborate together to bring about cultural transformation. But as some of you might see in your hometowns, you might see a pregnancy care center that is filled with resources and support for pregnant mothers, and yet mothers day after day walk right past the pregnancy care center and go to an abortion facility to kill their preborn child. You might have a pro-life politician who doesn't have either the courage or the confidence to advocate in favor of preborn children in their seat in parliament or legislature. The educational arm of the pro-life movement is foundational in changing minds of mothers and fathers before they even become pregnant. The educational arm of the pro-life movement is essential for building a groundswell of support of people who are pro-life and have the courage to go and lobby their politician, to nominate new politicians who will advocate in favor of preborn children. The educational arm of the pro-life movement is what is absolutely necessary right now to get more people accessing our currently wonderful and very often well-stocked pregnancy care centers. And the educational arm of the pro-life movement is absolutely essential for building that grassroots political movement of people who know that abortion is a human rights violation and are willing to act on it, lobbying their current politicians and nominating new politicians to bring forth protection for preborn children in Canada.
The theme of the Toronto March for Life this year is be a voice for the voiceless. And if you too want to be a voice for the voiceless, you need to have a heart for this. You need to understand the issue, to recognize the injustice of what abortion is, and to have the desire to see little preborn children saved from the hands of abortionists. You need to know how to effectively engage with the culture. We spend a lot of time on the streets, and there are countless beliefs about countless issues on every topic wherever you go, and it might seem daunting, but you can be equipped to have the really good conversations to get to the heart of the matter, which is who are the preborn and what does abortion do to them. And then you need the opportunities to be that voice. As Cam mentioned, you can go to endthekilling.ca, click the Take Action tab, and you too can be connected into a local club, a group, into different groups of people across the country who are fighting the injustice of abortion in their communities. I also want to encourage you to stay tuned into the other talks that are happening through this Toronto March for Life. As I mentioned, tonight at 7 p.m. is an apologetics talk where you can learn more in depth ways on how to have a conversation. There's talks on how to have good strategy when it comes to fighting abortion. There's a talk on how to reach people when they share with you that they have gone through some difficult circumstances. Stay tuned so that you can fill up your head with important information and you can take that to the streets. What's the best way to stay tuned? You might ask. Here it is, www.torontomarchforlife.ca. www.torontomarchforlife.ca. That's where you can stay tuned and updated with all the details. If you're a Facebook or an Instagram person, I want to highly recommend to you the Toronto March for Life Facebook and Instagram accounts. Everything will be updated there as well. An updated schedule, any changes that might happen this week will all be posted there. Any links that you might need for the webinars will be there. Go check it out, torontomarchforlife.ca. Our call to you today is to be a voice for the voiceless. I'm not a special person. Cam's not that much. I mean, he's a really special guy, but not like crazy special. Everyone can go on the streets, or everyone can be informed on how to have conversations. Everyone can engage others with the reality of abortion and the truth that abortion does end the life of a preborn child. And so we want to encourage you, be a voice for the voiceless.